What's up, everybody? I'm Mr. Mikro Shadis here with another episode of Dark Theory USA, where Jordan Peterson got schooled, got owned, got humiliated by a bunch of atheist college kids in debate one Christian versus 20 atheists. Then they changed the Jubilee. That's a channel that always has this type of debate. And they had to change the title from one Christian versus 20 atheists to Jordan Peterson versus 20 atheists. But actually, you could see like really he was invited as a Christian because the whole setup was about like he lectured about the Christianity. And imagine if somebody is not Christian and comes and lecture people about the Christian, like it defeats the purpose. You are lecturing people about the Christianity, but still Christianity is beneath your level that you don't even want to consider yourself as a Christian. Let's watch the video and then we will react to it, and then I'm gonna compare the king of word salad, Jordan Peterson, Judas Peters, versus queen of the word salad, which is Kamala Harris. We're gonna see who's gonna win. Let's see.
Conscience. He has a major influence on all of Catholic social theory. How about that, Christian?
Sure. So do you believe in the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good notion of God?
What do you mean by believe?
Do you think it to be true?
That's the circular definition. What do you mean when you say you believe?
How is that circular?
Because you added no content to the answer by substituting the word true and believe.
I said you think it to be true.
All right. So if you believe something, you stake your life on it.
What do you mean by that?
Let me replay this part.
It would just depend on like what you're referencing. If you're saying a description of your psychological preferences would be considered within science, sure, but I don't think that you have to say that it comes from science in order to be like an atheist. As an agnostic atheist, I don't know if God exists and I don't believe that God exists. And the only ones that I would really reject would be like the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good, perfect notion of God that plenty of Christians like prescribe themselves. So I guess
how is that relevant to this claim?
You're basing a position of morality and purpose in some like notion of God that isn't the same type of notion of God that typical Christians would prescribe. Your notion of God is
what typical Christians?
Yeah, typically when I talk to Christians, they say that they believe in all-knowing.
How about Cardinal Newman, who defined God as conscience? He has a major influence on all of Catholic social theory. How about that, Christian?
Sure. So do you believe in the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good notion of God?
What do you mean by believe?
Do you think it to be true?
That's the circular definition. What do you mean when you say you believe?
How is that circular?
Because you added no content to the answer by substituting the word true and believe.
I said you think it to be true.
All right. So if you believe something, you...
We will get back to it. So you see, like, that's his technique. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by that? I know that, like, in the philosophy, you have to have common terms that you both agree on, like the definition of the belief or whatever we are talking about that commonly we are using, both of us. We have to be on the same page because, you know, like, I mean, as a Muslim, it happens a lot. They say, like, your Muslim, your definition of Islam, it is different than mine. And you say, why? Because they say, well, but most of, like, you see Catholic, Orthodox, Protestant, Sunni, Shia, all of them, the interpretation, like how I interpret that word makes us have the different take on that, so we get separated. So basically, in order to be on the same page, he tried to do that. But the problem is he only does that. Like, there is no purpose on doing that. Like, it's not like, okay, I want to get to the bottom of it, so let's agree on a couple of the common terms so we see if we are on the same page. So based on that, if we go down, which you say, okay, that makes sense. But man, just saying that to make you feel like you are doing something, but actually you are not making any content, that's so much. Let me go to this one, like, to show you he always does that.
You know, so people say to me, what do you believe in God? And I think, okay, there's a couple of mysteries in that question.
I suppose I'm not making myself clear here. I'm only asking for a yes or no.
What do you mean do?
Just a yes or no will suffice.
What do you mean you?
No, yes or no. Yes or no. Yes or no. You can't even.
What do you mean believe?
Yes or no. Yes or no.
And what do you mean God?
Yes or no. Yes, you can't even answer yes or no. Yes or no.
So you see that like he always does that. But what do you mean by do? What do you mean by God? But bro, come on, get into the point. If we are having conversation, we're gonna get somewhere. But what do you mean do? Define the definition. Define. Define. Like eventually we're gonna get back to the void, like pre Big Bang, like before Big Bang was completely void, nothing. Like there's nothing to do. You know, like you want to talk, you cannot talk because you have to. The noise that I make, even prior to make the word, like say the word, the sound that I make should have the like some value to it, to that you agree on it. Like define definition. Okay, so what is the meaning of the meaning? What do you mean by what do you mean? You know, like you can just keep going simplifying by the time like we would question English language basically. That's very stupid of him. Like let me show you a couple of other stuff he does.
Did that happen? Begs the question, what do you mean by happen? Because when you are dealing with fundamental realities and you pose a question, you have to understand that the reality of the concepts of your question, when you're digging that deep, are just as questionable about as what you're questioning. You know, so people say to me, what do you believe in God? And I think, okay, there's a couple of mysteries in that question. What do you mean do? What do you mean you? What do you mean believe? And what do you mean God? And you say as the questioner, well, we already know what all those things mean, except belief in God. And I think, no, if we're going to get down to the fundamental brass tacks, we don't really know what any, because when you are dealing with fundamental realities and you pose a question, you have to understand that the reality of the concepts of your question, when you're digging that deep, are just as questionable about as what you're questioning. You know,
bloody well know what they're
That's what you're implying now.
Well, look, if you're going to use Occam's razor, you're kind of stuck in an awkward place here. And it wasn't a bloody vaccine.
Of
Just
course
no, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. They type
This
of
used to
vaccine
be
technology.
vaccines. Now this is vaccines.
No, it was like this, and now it's like this.
No. It was like this, and now it's like this. The mRNA technology was a radical, qualitative leap forward in technology. You can call it a vaccine if you want to, but it bears very little resemblance to any vaccine that went before that. Don't play that game. That is not what I was doing. I was making a very specific and careful case. The mRNA technology, by wide recognition, is an extraordinarily novel technology. What do you make of the excess deaths? You haven't come up with a bloody hypothesis.
I don't even know.
I don't have to trust.
Of course you do. To some extent, we have to trust third-party institutions to make
Except when they
determination.
use force.
yeah, sure.
What is it?
What we're doing here.
Is there an ultimate purpose of life?
Yeah, sure.
What is it?
What we're doing here.
Which is what?
Hopefully trying to make peace.
Is that enough?
We'll see.
Yeah. Because
It's better than the alternative.
what's the alternative?
Hell,
Okay.
which we're toying with. I don't mean us.
Yeah.
Well, us too, that's for
no,
sure.
I-
But, you know, things are shaky at the moment on many fronts. And we have this opportunity in front of us, all of us, to have a very abundant world, right? Where everyone has enough and maybe more than enough. And we're shaky about that. We're not sure that that's acceptable.
All right. So a couple of things. One of them, did you see like he's so precise, he's so determined to make sure like everything is accurate. Like he said, what do you mean by mean? What do you mean by do? What do you mean by God? Define the definition, all this crazy thing. But the thing is, like when it comes to the vaccine, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He says vaccine was this, now it is this. Like from the time like I have to be so accurate to what I'm talking about, it should be so perfect and flawless that what I mean by saying the word has the same meaning, value, weight as you have in your mind. So our vocabulary is the same thing. So we have to get to the bottom of it. So being so, how to say, sensitive to make sure everything is accurate and correct. Other than that, I'm not going to get involved in the discussion. From these to the point, like you said, this is vaccine, this is like, you see like how the measurement got inaccurate, as if two toddlers that are arguing with each other. No, my toy is better because my bigger, your toy is like, you know, like from the time, like define everything accurately down to the bottom of it, to the point like this is vaccine, this is like come on, like you could be more professional than that. especially somebody like you that is so sensitive about making sure like the word that we are using is accepted with the same value from both sides, from both ends. So what I'm saying, like he always does that. And in the beginning, like he's like a con artist. Like people were saying, "Oh my God, what he's saying is very professional." You see, like how careful he is about the choice of the words and the words that they're using. Like you would put so much respect. Like this man knows what he's talking about, and of course he's very careful. He wants to make sure like we get the correct information, and the exchange that we have is not only for sake of the argument, it's not only for having debate, but to find the answer, right? But then you see later on in the conversation, besides like from vaccine to it, like besides so like amateur way of making his point, you will see like he doesn't say anything. Like a word salad, like by definition, like a how to say, like a Kamala Harris, like for 1 hour she was talking about Indonesia. What did you say really? What do you mean? Like, let's go on circular definition. Like, I mean, of course, like he has been an academic, he was a professor, like his vocabulary is bigger, so he can use more heavy words to make it look like he's saying something. But actually, in my opinion, the ones who can use the simpler word but still send a message, this one is more valuable than just trying to make it hard to communicate by just using the hard words and in the end say nothing. Like this is what I realized, that that's why like universities are a scam, because people are keep using those fancy words, but in the end you see they could just say it in two sentences and just simplify and move on to the next one. So they are basically showing off, just see how many words I know, how many words I have in my vocabulary. That's it. It's not about like, let's see, let's get to the bottom of it. And exactly, Jordan Peterson is doing that. Like he talks the way like you say, oh, how many words he knows, like how many things is, but in the end he says nothing. It's nothing, and that's how like he couldn't cry, like always he does. He couldn't cry over there. He couldn't play victim. So what did he do? He said, I'm done with talking with this guy. Like later I'm gonna show it to you. Like he said, I'm done talking. It means when it comes to real challenge, he's just like a kid, like he gives up. And just like circular definition, like man, like really, like we have to accept, what do you mean by believe, what do you mean by true, like I think the word true is the same everywhere. Like, but anyway, the thing is, with all those tactics and techniques and tricks that he had, he was owned by a couple of liberal schools. I mean, hats off to them. Like they are very good in debating, but man, somebody like you are trying to be inspiring to the whole world, for all you teenagers, set up your bed, make your bed. To be owned like them is just career ending, in my opinion.